So local election results are in. It looks like the Tories have been absolutely decimating across the board. They've lost over 400 seats. Labour have lost around 80 at the time of recording. And the first thing I wanted to say was this morning, I come downstairs, woke up, come downstairs, turned on my TV, and it was already on BBC One, on the BBC morning show. And they're covering the local election results on that programme. Normally I don't watch TV much, I don't watch BBC Breakfast or anything like that, it was just on. But I couldn't help finding myself watching it, and they had on this Labour shadow secretary for something or other. And they were talking to him about why Labour did so badly, what happened, why did Labour lose so many seats, etc, etc. And I even got to the point where they were saying repeatedly, while this man was giving his explanations, if you will, his statements, they were saying repeatedly, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? Over what he was trying to say. Now, to his credit, he completely ignored that question, no matter how many times it was repeatedly asked, because it was so obviously geared to try and get him to say or to imply that it was Jeremy Corbyn's fault, that it was all Corbyn's leadership that had led to this, that people didn't want to vote Labour because of the Corbyn leadership. It was so blatantly obvious. And this is what makes me sick with the BBC. Now, I've always thought the BBC is something that everybody thinks is biased against them and their views. You've got conservatives who think the BBC is biased against them. You've got liberals and leftists who think the BBC is biased against them. But this morning it was so blatantly anti-Corbyn and anti-socialist, it was unreal. They didn't have, as far as I can tell, a conservative minister on there or a conservative secretary for whatever on there to explain why the Tories lost 400 seats, yet they will drag on a Labour shadow minister for something or other to explain why Labour lost 80. That to me absolutely stinks of bias, absolutely stinks. Now of course Labour is going to be the second largest or one of the largest numbers on the board. It's going to be up or down, whatever it is. They're going to lose one of the largest numbers because they're the second largest party in the country. Lib Dems did quite well, surprisingly. I've always considered them to be, ever since the election of 2010, I've always considered them to be yellow Tories and just nicer Tories. That's all they are. That's all they are, and that's all they will ever be to me, unless they actually undergo a seismic ideological shift. Remember that the Lib Dems actually believe in and agree with the Tory policy of privatisation. So to me, the Lib Dems will just be yellow Tories for as long as they exist. But they did quite well, surprisingly. But nobody is asking why the Tories did so abysmally, why they lost 400 seats. Nobody's asking that question. Everybody's asking why did Labour do so badly. The Tories are the ones in government for now. Let's not forget that.